Hey,
Hi,
it's Tash and Carly,
and you're listening to Motherhood,
not as we planned.
So get comfy, grab a cup of tea,
Or a glass of wine, and let's start talking about all the things too many of us avoid discussing. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Motherhood Not As We Planned. So today we wanted to talk about something a bit different, kind of going a bit more, I feel like, spiritual. Would you call it that?
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of people kind of ask us about maybe going into a bit more detail about how we healed and how we got to where we are now. And I know,
Still healing.
yeah,
Right.
and I know that we touched on it in one of our episodes, kind of talking about accepting your new life and moving forward and keeping busy and doing all these things. But something that we both have in common that we have both done and still do to this day is kind of that law of attraction, manifestation, journaling. So we kind of wanted to touch on that because I feel like it could be helpful.
Yeah, not even people who are going through breakups, but I think that could be helpful for pretty much anyone, like wherever you are at whatever point in your life, like whether it's just motherhood or whether, you know, you're at a point where you're just like, I want to make some changes and I aspire to a bigger and better life. I think
Absolutely.
it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of stem back a bit. We obviously spoke about our healing journey towards the beginning of the process of breaking up, didn't we? But I think what's really important is that healing is really ongoing and it's something that needs to be continuous. And I think it's like what we've said before, that healing isn't linear.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things can come up that trigger or, you know, it's healing takes time and it takes continuous work. It's not like, oh, I'm healed, magic, like I'm sewn back together again, all my wounds are fixed. Like it takes a lot of conscious work. And I think we just thought it might be helpful to talk about some of the things that we're doing at the moment.
Yeah. So I think we both happened to mention that we both made new vision boards when we broke up from our exes. So kind of explaining what a vision board is for anyone that doesn't know. So I got like a cork board. I think I got it off Amazon. You can get them in Hobbycraft or whatever. And then I got the little pins. And I generally prefer having photos and then a few words because I like to kind of like see what it is I want. And you pretty much put on there exactly what it is that you want. Some people might do like a yearly vision board or a 5-year plan or whatever. And I actually went through my new vision board with my therapist because like this is literally like her thing. And she told me that there are kind of like 9 life areas which you should kind of cover on your vision board. So I thought I'd quickly go through them. So number 1 is like health, physical and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got things on there like, I actually think I've got the words on there like healthy. And then for like emotional, I might have things like positive mental attitude, just kind of like putting words out there of stuff that I want
To feel.
Yeah. And obviously I've touched on it before with my phobia, you shouldn't really put on there anything like any negative words. So I actually found fear, F-E-A-R, can also stand for face everything and rise, which I love. So I've got that on my vision board. And then number 2 is a partner. So like having the same values. You might write that, because I remember you said the minute you made your new vision board, you wanted to kind of state what you want in a partner. So that might be like...
Yeah, and I think doing things like that, especially if you're going through a breakup, everything's really fresh in your head as to like what you would want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to write it out.
I think it's refreshing as well. It kind of makes you look forward to
knowing what you can have.
This is what I didn't like. This is now what I'm going to make sure that I get.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah. So I just put here like same like good family values, kind, generous, like just literally
Everything you
like
want.
words. And then I've also got on there things like a wedding dress and like a wedding ring and just things that I one day would like to have in regards to like the partner. Then I've got here career. So I put podcasts, which is really weird.
Manifest.
I know. And that was before I even knew that you were going through all of this. So I've got like, I think a word saying podcast, and then I've got like a photo of a microphone, which just, yeah, it's just things like that where you're like, yep, thank you, tick, done that. Money. So I've actually got a check on my vision board and I've written an amount of money. However crazy it may seem, however big you want it, with a vision board, I feel like the whole point in it is you don't need to have a reason or a way of guessing it. Just see it,
but also believe that it can be yours one day. And that's the key point, and we'll go into that. But yeah, I agree.
So I've got a check on there. And then like family and social, I've got like loads of different holiday destinations. I've got Disney World on there. I've got the Caribbean. I've got skiing. I've never been skiing before. I've got a safari. Like, so again, like loads of just like places or things that I would like to go to. I've got a house on there. Like I want eventually one day, please God, like a massive house and a car, even like as little as, and it can be, look, some people might think, oh, that's so materialistic, but I do have like the next handbag that I want because I aspire to afford to buy it myself.
So I've got my Cartier rings and bracelets.
I've got a Cartier ring on there. I've got my Chanel bag on there because why not?
Me too.
Yes.
Black classic.
Yeah, love that. Maybe we'll go and buy it together. 7, personal development. Like, so I think I've got a book on there and like I've put things like read more, or like I've got a massage bed with someone having a massage, and like I just feel like there's like, self-care. I think I've got words like sleep because I want to make sure I sleep better, and like fitness, like the health side of things. And then here, number 8 is spiritual and number 9 is emotional. So I think I've got like in massive words like happy, abundance, fun, love. So they were kind of like the areas that I went through to kind of make sure that I ticked each like life area. But there is no right or wrong with a vision board. It can be very much tailored to, you know, there may be someone that's listening to this that just really wants to know how I can manifest a really good life for myself, but it's got nothing to do with a partner or marriage or holidays. No. It might be all about work and the job that you want, or
it's also really fun and empowering thing to do. So the way I did it quite similar to Ash, but mine was I actually removed a family photo from an A3 photo frame. So I've done it on there and I just stuck pictures on there. But on Pinterest, if you want some inspiration and don't really know where to start, if you go on Pinterest and type in vision board pictures, loads will come up, and it's a really nice way of starting to think, oh, actually this is what I'd like. I'd like this, I'd like this. And I printed mine all off like little squares, and I sat down here and I scattered them all out, and I did the same. I didn't actually have these titles. Weird. I'm doing my vision board refresh tonight. So I've got all my pictures saved. I'm printing them this evening. I just feel like, so when I first did my vision board, it was literally a matter of weeks after I was on my own. And firstly, I've achieved a hell of a lot of those things quite quickly.
It's amazing.
But also there's some things that have now changed and that I really want on there. And
like what?
So at the time, I only had one picture of like, this sounds really cheesy. I had one picture and it was like a shadow of a man and a woman kissing.
I've got holding hands. I've got 2 hands.
Love that. And then a few words about what I'd want. But I feel like I'm more specific about what I would want now. Like, and again, previously I didn't know whether at one point I'd be open to like having something more like that. Or I don't know, I never really looked past kind of just getting over what was going on. I think just my dreams and hopes for my future have changed somewhat. And
do you know what I think's nice? I feel like that probably makes you see from the point that you made that, which was only a few months ago, to now, how far you've come.
Yeah.
So it's like, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I've achieved some of these, but now my goals are slightly different because I'm in a better headspace. So it's really nice to kind of...
But like Tash, like I've got similar things. So I've got quite a lot of like business orientated goals. Again, I've got quite specific money goals on there. I've got like loads of like boss bitch quotes. Love like being an independent kind of like business. I've got like dreams for my future home. Again, those, I feel like those are evolving. Things like the travel, I've got loads of that. And Disneyland Paris was up there. There was like a girls trip one, which obviously I've just been on, and that was not like, it's just weird stuff. There's a couple others on there that are very close to being achieved. Podcast. There's one, and it's this really beautiful picture. I think I've shared it somewhere. I'll try and find it. It's really beautiful. It's
I know what you're going to say because I remember you sharing it.
Yeah, and it's got like all these flowers over, and it's about a healing heart. It's just honestly, even if you're not going through a breakup, I cannot recommend it enough. I've been doing vision boards since lockdown 2020. It's when I first handed in my notice to my teaching job. I was on my own, and I remember thinking, and again, so this is another really lovely kind of transition in your life. Like, it's a really good thing to do at any point in your life. But I remember thinking, I've handed in my notice. I had a relatively good salary. It was all down to me. And I remember thinking, shit, how am I going to earn enough money for us to live? I needed to make a certain amount of money for us to break even, let alone thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember around that time, I was doing a lot of reading on manifesting, and I was very open to learning about the laws of attraction. And one thing that kept coming up was vision boards. So I was like, going to try it. And I remember at the time, thinking as I was doing it, this is insane. This kind of lifestyle could never be mine. I remember having a Louis Vuitton bag on there. I had a Cartier ring on there. I had, and it wasn't just material things. There were other things on there. One of them was another baby, and I had Milo.
Really?
Yeah. And really, I was spending a lot of time putting those laws of attraction and really putting a lot of work into that aspect. And I ticked a hell of a lot off. I'm sat here wearing my Cartier ring. I got my Louis Vuitton bag. I know those are just materialistic things, but if you would have asked me a few years ago, would I have ever been able to have anything like that? The answer, I would have said, that's just not for me. That's just not the life I'll have. You have to believe it. And if you're not dreaming of it first, you're not going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something really magical and exciting to think, actually, we can create the future we want.
Yeah, I really, really strongly believe that. It's funny, because my old vision board was before I fell pregnant with Rome, and I had just a healthy little baby, had a photo of breastfeeding because it's all I've ever wanted to do. And it's just really there's just something really rewarding about ticking off these things that you feel like you've manifested. I feel like the key with manifestation, and it's not as simple as see it, want it, get it. There is a lot more to it, and we were actually going to maybe list a few books that we've read and everything, and things that can help. But I feel like they say it's having that feeling of acting like you already have it is what makes that difference.
How would that woman feel? If you was, say, for example, you're manifesting a bag, how would you feel when you have that bag? Would you walk any differently? Would you dress any differently? Would you carry yourself? Would you be more confident in yourself? And you've got to embrace who she is and be that person now. And if you believe you already have those things, and that is real, that's what attracts it to you.
I feel like it's very much that whole concept of you get back what you give out.
You put out and positive vibe.
Yeah, and if you are on that frequency of that positive energy, look, I don't want to offend anyone by saying this. I feel like I've always got something controversial to say, but you may have that one friend that's very much
Neggy Nigel.
Oh, why has this always happened to me? Oh, trust that to happen to me. Oh, this happened to me. Or do you know what? You may not even be that person. It may just be that day. The day
today. This is my day today.
The morning that you've had today. I feel like when you're in that mindset, oh, typical. Well, yeah, obviously that's happened to me. It keeps happening. Do you want to know what one of my things are? I always win in my premium bonds. I never don't, okay? And genuinely, I never don't, because I am waiting for that email, because I'm going to win next month. And I do, because I believe it. I get that parking space.
I do parking space too.
Yeah, because I see me getting that parking space. Every time I go to the same shopping centre, I always get around the same area, that parking space, because I see it happening. So sometimes I feel yes, I'm not saying the minute you have a breakup, or if you're having a bad day, or if you lose that job, you're not allowed to be negative, because then you're just going to attract more negative things.
You're human.
But eventually, I think it gets to a point where if something isn't working for you, or it's not happening correctly, you need to change your mindset. How amazing to and how empowered would you feel if you knew genuinely that if you wanted something, you can get it. Now, let's be realistic. Don't get me wrong. I would love to manifest that I will one day marry Justin Bieber, but we've got to be slightly realistic. Do you know what I mean? Like, sadly, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'm okay with that. So I'm not going to waste my energy trying to manifest things that are unrealistic. But certain things, like, at the end of the day, like, why can't you aspire to get that house that you want to have? If you put your mind to it and you work hard, bring it on.
But I think one thing that a lot of people struggle with is speaking positively to yourself every day. And it's things, so it's not to strip it back sometimes. And it's something I used to ask a lot of my clients is, how many times are you negatively talking to yourself in the day? So it might be you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you might be like, oh my God, like I look awful, or like, look at those eye bags, or, oh, I wish I could lose a few pounds. Like, we are subconsciously negatively speaking to ourselves, honestly, multiple times a day. So we are feeding ourselves negative.
Sorry.
So what we need to do is, as people who aspire to more, is to make sure we're feeding positive, and that takes conscious work. And one of my best pieces of advice to anyone who wants to start making small changes is gratitude. And this is something I was doing for years, and it's actually something I want to make. I'm using this as accountability. I'm going to start doing it again because the difference it made in me was just powerful. So I used to start my day off with gratitude. I had a journal. I'm trying to link it on our page or something, but you can just do this on any notebook. But when you wake up in the morning, before you lift up your phone, before you do anything, you have your journal next to your bed, and you write down 3 things that you are grateful for. And it might be the sun is shining through my window. It might be the smell of coffee downstairs. It might be my child slept through the night. It could be anything that you in that moment feel grateful for. And already that puts you on a high frequency. It makes you feel good. You're like, I've got so much here. Like, this is amazing. You could extend it. You could write down something you're looking forward to. Doesn't have to, but it's just, again, it's another extension of something that's making you feel good. Then before you go to sleep at night, last thing I do before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for, 3 good things that happened. So it literally could be, the sound of giggles from one of your children. It could be, I don't know, like something you ate that was really delicious.
I managed to get that work done.
It could be tiny, but it's 3 positive things. And there was one point I was writing down like one good deed I did that day and a couple of other bits. Again, you're then ending your night before you go to sleep feeling really positive. Even if you've had the world's crappiest day and loads of other stuff have gone wrong, you've still managed to find 3 good things in that day. And I just think there's something really powerful that keeps you on a really high vibration. And I feel like when you're grateful for what you already have and you more appreciate and recognize what you have, you're going to get more back.
Yeah, I actually read on something, it might have even been like a video on TikTok, and it said like, start being, especially when you're looking for maybe like a new partner, be more aware with what you have to offer rather than worrying what you don't have. Because putting out that positive energy, it's like when someone says to me like, were you ever worried about, I think I had it on my Q&A a few days ago, were you ever worried that no one would want you with 3 children? At first I was, but once I was in a better headspace, I was like, do you know what? Someone's going to be lucky to take on my 3 kids. I have like 3 amazing kids to offer to someone. So it's mindset. Once you have that attitude about life in general, I feel like just genuinely it does change your mindset on things moving forward. And I feel like you just will probably... you get
as well. Like, I feel like as well, you want to be attracting like good and positive people into your life. So like future partners, you want someone who's on a good vibe, who's on a good vibration, who's going to give that back. You don't want like someone who's really negative about stuff. And I think that's also really important. Like, I'm a big believer in like protecting your energy. And like, one thing I don't like is someone like invading my energy with like negative things. I'm very much like, oh yeah. And I think, again, like putting these things into practice, I'm not saying, oh, if you just be grateful for what you have after a breakup, you'll be fine. Like, absolutely feel the feels, like feel everything. Yeah. When you're, you are grieving, it's part of a grieving process. And I'm not saying, oh my God, like don't be negative and feel like your world's falling apart. Absolutely feel everything. Everything is completely valid. But when you are ready to start moving forwards and, you know, you consciously want to heal, these are just some things we think.
Yeah, well, like you said, we then talk about the whole journaling process, which I think falls in line with like manifesting and healing. And if I look back at the beginning of my journal when I broke up, I did all that negative. Like it was,
you have to get it out,
pouring my heart out. I'm sad, I'm crying, and I'm writing it all out. But there's something just really, it almost like lets you like breathe. Do you know what I mean?
I think you need to let the emotion out. Sometimes people try and hold it in.
I feel like men tend to, I don't want to be like stereotypical.
I think men,
but I feel like
speak more.
Yeah.
But it's really important you let it all out and you feel, I think one thing I was really scared at the start was feeling everything.
I feel like I remember, because I read it back, you know, I told you how I've been reading it back. And I wrote one bit where I was like, I haven't cried in weeks. I'm so shocked. And then something happened. And I started crying, and honestly, I feel like I cried 3 weeks worth in like an hour, but that really helped me. I feel like if you keep it in and you don't work on it and get through it, it will eventually come out, but maybe in other ways. And you may then, you know, take that trauma and put it into a good relationship. So although we said like, I think we spoke about previously, maybe there's not a particular right time, you don't have to be completely ready to date. One thing I would say is making sure that the healing process is in a good enough place to go to another relationship.
You're not bringing all the pain.
Yeah, don't take the bad lessons that you've kind of like learned from one relationship and bring it into a new one.
Yeah, almost like behave the same in that relationship.
Yeah,
in person.
Yeah.
I think definitely like it's scary at the start to feel all the feelings because it's painful. Like I remember just being so shocked at how physical pain was in terms to an emotional relationship. It really knocked me for six. Like the physical, I used to literally feel like that heartache, but it's really important to feel it. It's really important to just let it out. Like there's going to be days, there's going to be weeks, there might be months of feeling that pain, and certain things might bring that pain up, but letting it out, accepting it, recognize it, even naming it is really helpful. And like journaling for me, I wrote down a lot of my feelings, but another way I've always kind of articulated the way I'm feeling is I write quite like a lot of poetry and stuff, and that's just always been my way of putting words to paper. And just like letting it out is so, and it's not even that, I don't know, like I have read a couple of them back and it is, you know, it will bring up emotions, but I don't think, like someone asked me the other day, do you read back through your journals? I don't even think you write a journal to read back through. I think it's more an outlet for you. It's a safe space. It's somewhere you can literally just open up.
Yeah, you don't have to be like ashamed or afraid to hold back. So something that I did that I feel like ties in quite nicely with the whole like journaling and whatever, my therapist told me to write out a list of 50 things good about myself. Now, I'm not going to lie, I found it quite a struggle at first, but it can be like as simple as I'm a loyal friend, or I try to be a good mum. So I feel like once you get into it,
I'm amazing.
Yeah, no, but like I did end up feeling like really good about myself. And then she also said I needed to make a list of 20 bad things about my ex.
I bet that was a little bit easy.
Not gonna lie, it was quite easy. And I don't know, I just found it really like it just made me feel good. I just saw all these great things about me, and then all these not so great things about him. And you know, I get messages a lot from people saying things like, I can't move on. I can't get over him. Like, I really miss him. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I really resonate with them because I really felt that way. Like he was literally like my world. I didn't know anything different than being with him. But when I used to say things like I missed him so much, yeah, I'd think about maybe some good memories, or I don't know. I feel like you get so wrapped up in missing what you thought you had,
and it's familiarity, and it's almost like a habit.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, and some people might be listening to this being like, but my guy was a good guy and he just fell out of love with me, so it's that much harder. But I think it does come down to being confident enough to realise that if you're not together anymore, there's something better out there for you. And that's what then comes with the journaling and the manifestation, and really believing, not necessarily having to manifest the perfect person, because no one's perfect, but there's going to be someone out there that's just better suited for you. And it took me a really long time that sometimes I'd sit there and find myself crying and being really sad and being like, I just miss him so much. I just wish he was here. And I would go back to my list and be like, well, actually, hold on. Do I miss this bad point?
Hell no.
Do I miss this bad point? And then I'm like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
I'm missing the idea of like
having someone or sharing your life with someone.
Yeah. And so having that list, as brutal as it may sound,
a good idea. I think I'm going to do both those things.
Yeah, I feel like it's really helpful. So maybe that might be the first stage for someone that's kind of going through that breakup and really struggling to detach themselves emotionally.
I think as well, going back to the journaling thing, so not only did it help me like recognise how I was feeling, but I also feel like it allowed me to delve in deeper and reflect on my relationship more. I felt like I really looked back at how I'd been feeling for a long period of time. I think I know for me personally, I struggled to even accept that my relationship wasn't perfect. And I think I put on such a facade for so long to everyone else.
And do you think you did it to yourself as well?
Yeah, but this is it. I think I was so good at putting on this facade to other people that I almost believed it. Like I'd been living this happy family who go out and do all this amazing family stuff. And, you know, we got these 2 perfect boys and we live in our dream home and this and that. And I think I'd ended up believing this so much. But when I've delved in deeper, I think really what I've uncovered is I feel really awful saying this as well, is I don't believe I've been in love for a very long time or for longer than, something should have been addressed earlier. And I think that's probably on both parts of us. I think we've mentioned before, but people change. And when you've been with someone for a very long time, you change. But it's really important that you're evolving together and, you know, you're growing together and those values still remain the same and those, you know, priorities and things remain the same. And I think it's only problematic when you're growing, but you're growing apart from each other and those values and things don't match up anymore. But I didn't know any of that before any of this happened. I'd never delved into it.
Did you journal much when you were together?
No, and I've always...
Do you think if you did,
maybe
that you would have been more self-aware?
I do think that might have been the case. I was so... The only things I really did when we were together were things like gratitude and things. So I think I was so busy focusing on positive things. And this is what I'm saying, like, it is really good being positive, but I also think if there's stuff going on, it is really important to be able to like open up and get into the nitty gritty. Because in my head, I was like, I'm so lucky. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And I was busy focusing on the brilliant things. And I don't know, almost like convincing myself I was really happy. And I don't personally believe like my relationship would have ended in at all. Unless things had gone the way they'd gone. And in a way, I almost have to be grateful for that because I think it will allow us both in the long run to be happier and, you know, to lead more fulfilled lives and in turn for my kids to be happier. But and for me, like journaling, honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. And again, like once you're able to really reflect on exactly how that relationship made you feel, elements that weren't okay and things like that, it then allows you to also be able to plan ahead for that future, to recognize this is what I want in a future partner. This is these things are now really important to me, because I know for me, when I was first with my ex, my dreams and aspirations and values were so different. Obviously, becoming a mum changes you massively, but people change over time. We evolve, we grow. So yeah, I really, really recommend journaling. Even if you're not a writer, like I know you said you journaled a lot by writing on your phone.
Yeah.
Some people hate picking up a pen to paper. Even if you type it on a laptop or a phone, or I know some people who, there's a couple of apps you can get where you speak it if you prefer saying things out loud. There was this thing I did for a while, all about positive affirmations, where like I recorded this script of me saying all these like really positive things to myself, like things like, I don't know, you attract money with ease, or you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are strong, you are deserving of love. And I used to say this down the microphone onto this app, and I used to play it back and listen to it in the car. Just all these positive affirmations I think are really, really powerful. And again, this is another thing. This isn't related to like breaking up. I think just in general, it's really lovely if you've got children. But I need to get back in the habit of doing it. I used to with Theo before bed, but we used to say 5 or 6 affirmations before bed. So he used to say like, I am smart, I am kind, I am clever, or whatever it is. Like, I just think if we can get children to start positively speaking to themselves,
I love that.
It's that whole thing, isn't it? Like, if you say it to yourself and you believe it, and I think children are like sponges. If you instill that in them, how powerful that we know, like now, like way more than when our parents were younger, about the law of attraction and stuff. That wasn't a thing then.
Yeah.
We know how amazing and powerful words like that can be. If we can get our kids in the habits of doing that, how powerful.
Yeah.
Imagine how amazing our kids will feel when they're older, if they're like, I am beautiful, like I am worthy of love, and I am loved.
I did something similar with the kids, and I've stopped doing it, and this has obviously made me think like I need to do it. But we'd sit in bed before they went to bed, and I'd say, right, I want you to tell me your favourite thing that you did today, and what are you looking forward to tomorrow? And I guess it's like a similar sort of thing. And another thing I did, which I shared on my Instagram, which people loved, is it was leading up to Christmas. Their birthday and Christmas is just a month apart. So we did it last year, and I'm going to do it again this year, but we made vision boards. So what we did is we went to Smith's, we got a catalogue because it's free. It's a really actually just fun activity to do in the day. Go to Smith's. We took loads of photos, but then we also took the catalogue home, and we pretty much did like just cutting and sticking, and they made a little vision board, and they knew that this is what we would really like for Christmas and our birthday. And I just said to them, I want you to look at it every morning and just be like, I really hope I get that. But obviously I made it realistic. I explained to them that sometimes you can't get everything you want in one go. Like, if Blake went and picked like the most expensive £400 toy, I'd be like, we're not able to do that one because Santa can't bring that. But yeah, so, and it's just, I feel like it's a nice way of making a fun activity, and without them even realising, they've got their vision boards and they're manifesting, and they then got the toys that they wanted, and they just think it's because that like they truly believe that they were going to get it.
I do think mindset is so powerful, and it's overlooked so much.
Even just talking about all this,
does it make me excited?
No, but it's made me realise like, I've really gone off course. Like I really need to like after this, like I'm going to fill in the few gaps on my vision board, and I need to start doing my gratitude list again. And so I feel like however much you're used to doing it and you're aware of what needs to be done, it's very easy to get caught up in like everyday mundane stuff.
It is, because there's always 100 things to do. And that's in my head why I think I've put off redoing my vision board, because I'm like, I've got this work, I've got this, I've got to do this. But actually all those things are going to bring the bigger things to me. So this is actually worth putting the time in.
100%.
So yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. Like, again, what we said, this doesn't just have to be from a breakup. It can literally be at any point. If you've never done anything like this, we challenge you to go and make a vision board, to start practicing gratitude, and we'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes, like take photo. Well, actually, I guess vision boards can be quite personal, but even just maybe a few snippets of photos, like tag us, like let us know that you're either journaling or doing your vision board, because it is
powerful.
Yeah, it is, and it works.
So yeah, we are going to go on to some emails now. It's really good to just share different situations and circumstances.
Okay, so let's go through some emails to end the episode. Hey ladies, so I've reached out a couple of times but then hesitated when it came to sharing my story with you. But I feel I finally found the courage to share my story and not delete it before sending. Rewind to January last year when I found out that my husband was not only gambling, shoplifting, as well as cheating amongst other things. That was just the start of the very long list. I asked him to leave our family home to work on himself and for us to attend marriage counselling. We spent just over 3 months apart when I had a mental breakdown and begged for him to come back home, which he did after agreeing he would change and that we both needed to work together on fixing our marriage for the sake of our 3 young children. To start with, things were doing great. It was almost as if we had fallen back in love with each other all over again. Then the walls came crashing down sometime in July. Specifically remember it being sports day. My husband had gone out for dinner and drinks with his work colleagues. I went to bed expecting to wake up with him next to me, but for some reason I woke up at 3 a.m. and he wasn't home. Due to his past record, I started to ring around. I then rang hospitals expecting the worst. They informed me that my husband was in hospital, but that was all they could tell me. A short time later, I received a phone call from the police regarding my husband's welfare. There were concerns that he had discharged himself from hospital. I then received a message from my husband stating how much he loved us and that he was sorry. However, he then switched his phone off, so it's making me feel a bit unwell.
It's terrifying.
The alarm bells were ringing, but this wasn't the first time over the past 13 years. He had done this on many occasions. I waited anxiously, trying to make out to the children that Daddy had stayed at a friend and that he would be coming home shortly. Come 7 a.m, the kids were all ready for sports day. My phone rings. It was my husband. He advises me he's been in a car accident and asks that I pick him up from the hospital. So we headed straight to the hospital, dropped off the kids, and then came home from where he told me that he tried to end his life. Of course, I was absolutely devastated, but as ever, supportive and caring. My husband said he would speak to the GP about his mental health and that he needed help. Fast forward to October, I was looking for some paperwork on our desk in the lounge when I noticed a large pile of paperwork quite clearly addressed from the police. It didn't take long for me to work out that these papers were due to him drink driving and having to attend a court case. So not only had he lied about the fact that he had been drink driving, but he'd also lied and said that he had attempted to take his own life. Of course, I was absolutely devastated, but at the same time, it convinced me that it was myself who was to blame, and in fact, it was me who had pushed him to drink drive. I honestly look back now and feel like such an idiot. This was just the start of things to come. I just wanted to share as I gave him a second chance, and it quite possibly was the worst decision I ever made. Thanks, girls, for all you're doing.
Oh, that's...
I'm not going to lie, someone that really resonates with me. Yeah. It's just so sad when you hear what people get put through and then they blame themselves, and you can't stop it. Like, I did that. I mean, all I can say is, like, you know, really brave to send it. You said that you didn't want to at first. I think it just shows how brave you are, and now that you're out of that, things can only get better.
I think as well, it's another example of, I think often people think when we're talking about breakdown in marriages, people often just think about infidelity and things like that. And there's so much more in terms of deceit and, you know, other situations. And I think, you know, good for you for finally, you know, being able to step away from it.
Yeah.
And just sending lots of love, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Should we do one more?
Yeah. Hi, both. Very into the pod. My story's a little different. Maybe I was trying to get out for a while. Maybe I should have stayed. I'm very much at a crossroads. Maybe I'll go back. I fell for my best friend. Sounds magical, sure. We moved in together at the start of lockdown as friends, fell in love. 2 weeks later, found out I was pregnant, and our little girl is 2 years old now. My total best friend, I never thought he'd be like all the rest, but sure enough, the cracks started to show and my triggers got tripped. I always felt there was a disparity between men and women, but I never truly grasped how much so until I was pregnant and then on maternity leave. I have a great corporate job and I'm very well educated, but none of that mattered to the rest of the world when suddenly all they could see is mum. But yet my partner got to be dad, partner, friend, colleague. His life continued and mine felt like it stopped. Anyway, fast forward to some arguing over him going out too much, me being triggered by his behaviour, me feeling like I was the housekeeper, mother, partner, and he just got to be him. I get to go back to work, controversial, sure, but I personally am a much better mum working. I get my independence back, I get a promotion, and suddenly I'm important. And one night we fall out over a few things, but things hadn't been right for a while. The scales were in the air. I asked him to move out. I thought I can do everything just on my own, and sure, I can. Now we co-parent and we're still friendly. He's been trying to win me back, show me he won't behave like he did before. He's a totally new person, amazing dad. But I think my love for him has changed. And so I'm at a crossroads deciding what to do and where to go. Sure, other people have shown their interest, but it's a case of am I happier alone or am I happier trying to get back to the good times? We could all end up with loads of different people. It's all in the timing, sliding doors. You said last week it's easier to hate them. You couldn't be more right. Being in limbo is far worse. Anyway, there's not a conclusion, just food for thought. What if you don't know what's best and there's no clear answer? Happy podcast. It's a really hard one. And I think it sounds like from reading it that you've kind of made up your mind. I feel like you're more sure that you can do this on your own. And I feel like you have almost, and I don't care, I'm going to put it out there. I do believe that women sacrifice a hell of a lot more than men when it comes to becoming mothers.
Yeah.
On the whole, even physically, I don't think men will ever understand how much that changes someone. And I resonate to a lot of the things you said about feeling like everything in your world and your life changed and there's kind of stays the same.
Yeah.
And it is really hard when you have that resentment against them, I guess, because everything in your world changes. I guess what I would do is really, really spend some time reflecting. I don't think you need to have definitive answers by a set time and point. Like, spend some time together, see if there is still a spark there. I don't think you need to put pressure on yourself deciding, like, if he loves you enough and he genuinely wants to make it work, he'll wait as long as it takes you to...
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a, do I try again, do I not?
Week. No.
As you said, spend some time together.
But no, take the pressure off it.
Yeah,
like,
see if he behaves the way you feel like he should. And then if he doesn't, maybe there's your answer.
Actions speak louder than words. If he's putting all those things that he's promising you into place, then that could change everything.
I think I would be willing to just see, because it doesn't sound like a particular thing has happened. Like, but I can appreciate as things build up.
And as well, it sounds like you were feeling certain feelings that weren't necessarily being heard or validated. And maybe it's not until you've stepped away that he's like kind of started to listen. Does that make sense? I don't, again, yeah, I think I would just
see.
Take the...
But I think one thing I would say is the fact that you said that you feel like you maybe could be better doing it on your own. Just make sure that you don't fall into a habit of, oh, do you know what? It is easier together. And although I may not love him as much as I used to, he's trying. Like, don't accept the minimum, but I still feel like you could try and be happy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it could just be like a blip.
Yeah.
And, you know, things do change. Kids change everything. Like, and as well, you've got a 2-year-old. That's also quite a difficult age in terms of, like, you know, not quite being able to communicate. Milo's nearly 2 and Rome's 2. It's quite a challenging age. And yeah, I would say, I think we're both on the same page with that one.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode. Hopefully it was helpful.
Yes, make sure you guys try and do some journaling, get your vision boards going. I know.
We are both going to put more of those things into practice.
Absolutely. Doing a gratitude list tonight.
Don't forget to follow us and share these episodes with as many of your friends as possible. We like to get spread. We like to get...
Oh, Oh dear. On that note, make sure you still send your emails in. Love you guys. See you later.